Hello guys, welcome back to part 3. In the previous part, we explained what exactly browser fingerprinting is and what it's usually used for. In case you forgot, let me refresh your memory a bit. Websites mostly use browser fingerprinting to track your online travels. The large majority of websites use this data to personalize the advertisements and information that they serve up to you. Now, let's take a look at some examples. When you use a search engine, you leave behind quite a bit of sensitive data, which data brokers glean to sell to interested third parties like health and life insurance companies. When a data broker sells your data to an insurance company, the insurer may decide that you're a health risk due to the information you looked up, charging you higher rates. Online merchants will set your pricing due to your location. If browser fingerprinting shows that you live in an affluent area, you may see your in-browser pricing increase. Heck, I learned the other day that Target, which is a big box store, targets its customers with different pricing related to their location. If you check pricing across town from your local Target, the price will likely be cheaper than if you check it while you're in their parking lot. The international advertising industry and marketing machines love your data. They'll do anything to get their hands on your data in order to track your online activities. Tracking methods and data collection are extremely valuable because it allows advertising businesses to create a profile based on your data. The more data these businesses have, the more accurately that they can target you with advertisements, which indirectly means higher revenue for the company. One good test website to see all the information that is being revealed by your browser is ipleak.net. With ipleak.net, you will want to scroll down to the Geek Details section where you will be able to see the following: detected information, system information, screen information, plugin information, MIME times information, and HTTP request headers. There are also a few websites that reveal browser data and also assess a uniqueness score based on your variables in comparison to their database of browsers. AmiUnique.org is also another good resource. It is open source and provides more information and updated fingerprinting techniques, including WebGL and Canvas. Cover Your Tracks is run by the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Cover Your Tracks is the updated version of a project the EFF have been working on for many years. It gives you a pretty good picture of how susceptible your browser is to fingerprinting. Before we jump into potential solutions, it's important to note that implementing browser fingerprinting protection methods may break some websites. Be sure to research these different options carefully before adjusting your browser settings. Another consideration is your threat model. How much privacy do you need or want? The answer to that question will be different for every user. Lastly, I use the word mitigate rather than solve because browser fingerprinting is a very complex and evolving issue. For example, a new study revealed that there's nothing you can do to mitigate some fingerprinting attacks on smartphones. Here are some good ways to mitigate your browser fingerprint. Brave browser fingerprinting. Although it is based on Chromium, the Brave browser may be a good option for those wanting a simple, privacy-focused browser that locks tracking by default and still supports Chrome extensions. Brave browser allows you to enable fingerprinting protection, which is under the Brave Shield settings. However, keep in mind that only Canvas and WebGL are randomized for each browser session. Other data remains the same and is not randomized, but it's better than nothing. Firefox Browser fingerprinting. Firefox can also be modified and hardened for your unique needs. Here's a brief overview of the things you need to know below. Note, this is just a brief overview of changes that improve your privacy and help to mitigate your browser fingerprint. This is by no means a complete guide, and it's impossible to make the Firefox browser totally anonymous. There are a number of different browser extensions and add-ons that you may find useful. With that being said, here are a few things to remember. Be careful with third-party extensions, which could potentially undermine your privacy and security. Be mindful that using extensions may make your browser fingerprint more unique. Many factors. Now that we've gotten those disclaimers out the way, let's examine some browser add-ons that may be useful. Firefox Browser Canvas Blocker by K. Kapsner protects against canvas fingerprinting methods. Trace by Absolute Double protects against various fingerprinting methods. And Chameleon by Serene Blue allows you to spoof user agent values. There are many other Firefox add-ons you may want to consider as well. Some of these add-ons are also available for Chromium-based browsers such as Brave. Some people recommend spoofing different user agents through a browser extension, while others suggest that this is a bad idea because it might make you more unique. Of course, there are many factors to consider, but adding noise to your fingerprint may not be a bad strategy. For example, with Chameleon, you can cycle through different user agents at various time intervals. Now let's look at another option for modifying your browser fingerprint, the use of virtual machines. You can also consider running different virtual machines which can utilize different operating systems on your host computer. VirtualBox is FOSS, which stands for Free Open Source Software, and offers an easy way to run different Linux virtual machines for more privacy and security. There are many different video tutorials online depending on your operating system and the virtual machine OS you're looking to use. Virtual machines offer numerous advantages in terms of privacy and security while also protecting your host machine. For privacy, VMs allow you to easily spoof different operating systems and also chain VPN services. This also helps keep your host machine secure by isolating a virtual environment. If the virtual machines were to be compromised, simply delete it and create a new one. You can also use different virtual machines for different purposes. But of course, the downside to using virtual machines is the fact that it's not that user-friendly, and depending on your machine, it can cause performance drops, so everything will be loading much slower. Another option to use is the Tor browser, which simply is a hardened and protected version of Firefox. It includes numerous privacy and security modifications that are built into the default version. The key here is to use the default version. The developers do not recommend adding any plugins or extensions because this could compromise the browser's effectiveness. The default version of the Tor browser is configured to run with the Tor Anonymous Onion network. While the Tor network does have added benefits in terms of privacy, it also has a number of disadvantages. Your internet speed will be reduced to around 2 Mbps, making streaming videos or music nearly impossible. Tor only encrypts traffic through the browser rather than encrypting all traffic on your operating system like a VPN. Tor is vulnerable to IP leaks, especially with Windows. Tor is not safe to use when torrenting. Ultimately, like all privacy tools, Tor has both pros and cons. As we've covered before, most smart devices are data collection tools for various entities. Smartphones are especially vulnerable to browser fingerprinting. A team of researchers at Cambridge published a paper highlighting how smartphones can be fingerprinted using internal sensors, and there's nothing the user can do about it. The paper delves into the technical details, but here's a brief overview of their findings. The attack can be launched by any website you visit or any app you use on a vulnerable device without requiring any explicit information or consent from you. The attacks take less than 1 second to generate a fingerprint. The attack can generate a globally unique fingerprint for iOS devices. The calibration fingerprint never changes even after a factory reset. And the attack provides an effective means to track you as you browse across the web and move between your apps on your phone. Aside from the sensor issue, there are many other reasons for avoiding smartphones if you expect privacy. Soon we will also make a video about controlling communication channels for more info on this topic. Lastly, I also want to briefly touch on private browsing. Can you be tracked on private browsing? Private browsing alone will not protect you from browser fingerprinting, and it won't hide your IP address or location. In essence, private browsing is actually not private. We will soon make a follow-up video about private browsing as well, but for now, let's keep it short and to the point. Virtually all web browsers now offer some kind of enhanced privacy mode. They are usually called private browsing mode, incognito mode, secret mode, or something along those lines. With names like these, you might expect them to allow you to use the internet with privacy. Unfortunately, they are not very private at all. While there are variations in each web browser implements its own mode, the main function of these models is twofold: to erase cookies from your browser and to erase your browsing history from your browser. They do a good job of this, but it takes a lot more to make your web browsing private. Erasing cookies from your browser and erasing your browsing history are fine to mitigate some online tracking. However, many people are being misled when using private or incognito browsing. Just ask Google. Google was sued for tracking incognito Chrome users. And while the average user thinks that incognito offers tangible protection, the browser companies seem to see things differently. There is currently a $5 billion lawsuit against Google for tracking users while in the Google Chrome incognito mode. So guys, we have reached the end of this part 3 in our series on privacy issues when it comes to VPNs. So stay tuned for our final part when we will discuss potential alternatives that we found during our extensive research.